She's a very poised individual, and I think she gives a very good speech. But Larry, what really struck me about this speech, and quite frankly, a lot of the other speeches tonight, was it was the same sort of nasty, divisive politics that unfortunately the American people have seen out of Washington for far too long. It's what stands in the way, along with lobbyists and special interests, from getting things done for the American people. I think people want to change from that. I think they want something different. And as a number of people have pointed out, for the second night in a row, we've yet to hear what John McCain would do to get this economy back on track, to create jobs, to free ourselves from our dependence on foreign oil, or to make health care more affordable. I think those are really lacking, and I think that's what Americans want to hear. They want to know how they're going to get this country moving again and moving this economy forward again.
About our opponents. But listening to him speak, it's easy to forget that this is a man who has authored 2 memoirs, but not a single major law or even a reform, not even in the state Senate.
Robert, is she going to argue experience?
Well, look, I hope if she continues that argument that she'll get her facts straight. You know, she says she hasn't spent a lot of time in Washington, but boy, the Washington attack sure flowed tonight. Let's talk about what Barack Obama has done. And I did a little of this last night, Larry, when Joe Lieberman tried to say the same false things. We've worked across party lines to reform our ethics, to keep dangerous weapons out of the hands of terrorists. And let me tell you about reform. Barack Obama changed strong ethics reform in the state legislature and strong ethics reform in the United States Senate. That's why a lobbyist can't walk up to a member of the Senate right now and hand them a gift or a free meal, because of the law that Barack Obama wrote when he was the United States
Schultz,
Senator.
what did you make of the address by the Alaska governor?
Well, I mean, I thought it was a tirade of attacks, and it was really surprising that the case that Governor Palin made for her candidacy for vice president is her experience in negotiating the sale of her state's plane on eBay. I mean, if that is an indication of her preparedness to run this country and have her hand on the tiller of America's foreign policy, if God forbid anything happens to John McCain, then we are in for a scary proposition.
Okay, Stephanie, how effective was that?
I got to agree with Congresswoman Schultz here. If that's your only qualification to be vice president or president, it's not much. And kind of ludicrous, Larry, in my opinion, coming from somebody of her limited experience. She's criticizing Barack Obama's experience. This is someone that was a mayor of a town of 9,000 that she left in debt. And she's touting herself as somebody that's qualified to judge Barack Obama's experience. I found it surprising. I thought it had the same tone as Rudy Giuliani's speech, which was just nasty. I thought, you know, it was just a whole different feeling at the Democratic convention if you watch the Obama speech.
About where is the economy in all of this? You know, I'm a Hillary supporter originally, and I can tell you that those men and women who supported her were really focused on what was happening as president. So we look up and we say, well, what do I see? I see McCain, Palin. They're willing to take us into 4 more years of the last 8 years. Or I can look at Barack Obama and Joe Biden and say, these are guys who have a plan to move our country forward when it comes to the economy. This is a no-brainer.
Congresswoman Schultz, do you expect that tomorrow night we will hear an economic...
Well, it would be shocking if we didn't. But so far, it just like Barack Obama said in his acceptance speech, it's been clear that John McCain and now Sarah Palin just don't get it. I mean, they are really out of touch with the I mean, for Sarah Palin not even to mention, Kiki's absolutely right, and I was a Hillary supporter and still am a Hillary supporter along with Barack Obama now. And for her to not mention the economy in her speech at all is astounding. I mean, it was just a tirade of attacks. She can't run away from the fact that this administration that John McCain supports botched the aftermath of Katrina, appointed an unqualified director of FEMA, supports leaving us mired in this misguided war in Iraq, leaving our troops twisted in the wind, thinks that we can drill our way out of this energy crisis, and doesn't understand that the economy needs to be turned around.
Stephanie, aren't they up against it a little? First of all, they got the most unpopular president in history. They've got an economy that's in trouble, a war that's unpopular. So this is the tact you take, isn't it?
Well, that's it, Larry. When things aren't going well, that's what you do. You blame the media. When, you know, Rick Davis, McCain's campaign manager, said this is the issues. You're exactly right. And that's why I agree with our guest tonight that this speech wasn't about anything except attacks about Barack Obama. It didn't say what they're going to do. You know, just it was really surprising to me in that way. And I tell you, one other thing I resent as a woman is we've been told all week that we should lay off the Palin family, that's off bounds. But it's okay for them to use them as props tonight, and for them to keep putting them into photo ops and using them politically. And I found it really distasteful.
Sexism is a serious charge. And I'll tell you, did you see the buttons in the audience at their convention tonight that said hottest VP from the coolest state? I mean, if we're talking about sexist description of their vice presidential candidate, throwing sexism around in a cheap way is
what I find
wrong.
Most insulting as a woman is that the women that supported Hillary will automatically support Governor Palin because she's a woman. You know, she has anywhere near the experience or judgment of Hillary Clinton.
She's the big reformer against earmarks, and yet she hired a lobbyist to get earmarks for the city that she represented as mayor. What I've heard is her story about canceling that bridge to nowhere, but yet potentially still taking the federal money into the state of Alaska. So these are all substantive debates. If there are people making that charge to her, I'm a working mom, my decision for my family, her decision for her family. I just don't know who it is that's actually made that charge.
Wrong on a woman's right to make her own reproductive choices, wrong on equal pay for equal work, wrong on expanding access to children's health care. As governor, she line item vetoed funding for seniors, funding for health care, funding for children. She actually opposed and line item vetoed funding for pregnant teens. So her record is clear. Joe Biden, when he debates her, is going to talk about the issues that are important to America, and I think that they'll engage in a full and fair debate, gender notwithstanding.
Stephanie, is there any chance that she could override the nominee, that she could get more attention than Senator McCain? She might be a more effective speaker.
Well, you know, I think she's certainly, you know, a novelty, because this is the first time, obviously, the Republican Party has nominated a woman. But I think your guests here make the point. It's not just, you know, that's what's insulting, to think that you're going to vote for a woman just because she's a woman. You know, Hillary Clinton supporters supported Hillary because she had experience, she had a judgment that Sarah Palin just does not have. She's been governor for 20 months, and she's under investigation. She was mayor of a town of 9,000 that she put into debt. You know, I mean, it just, I think it's laughable.
Now, what do you make, Kiki, of the attacks on what do you make of the attacks on the media?
Well, you know, I think she's sort of preaching to the choir there in her own convention hall. They want to find an enemy. And look, I'm somebody who, after the campaign we went through in the primary, didn't have a great day with the media every day. But I think she didn't win any new voters for the McCain-Palin campaign today with that. She merely fired up her own troops in-house who like to have a straw man to punch at.